Click the bell icon to get latest videos from Ekeeda.
So last video we did 5 major misconceptions about listening. Now we are going to do the rest of the other misconceptions about listening. It's very important, friends, to know what are the certain misconceptions about listening, because when I say, or when you listen to the video, you will realize that majorly many of us have these misconceptions in mind. So let's see what are the other misconceptions which we've left in the last video, and what are the other misconceptions about listening. Hello friends, let's see what's the next misconception. Misconception number 6. We listen better when we get older. Really? Have you seen that our grandparents who are maybe 80 or 90s, they get a listening deficiency, or they cannot listen well, and so they need to put a machine for listening. So is this myth a fact, or is it a myth? We listen better as we get older, is what many people say. People do not actually automatically become good listeners. As I told you, friends, we need to do a lot of practice. We need to be fully focused on understanding our listening skills, on evaluating our listening skills. The moment we get older, the more we get older, we realize that because we have not consciously taken an effort to practice these listening skills, it can go worse. While we get older, there is no reason for us to improve because we've not really taken measures to practice listening skills. And then actually we can get worse. We also go through life as and when we go through life, gaining experience and understanding the world around us, as our capacity for listening will likely is improving. So the more you meet people, the more you talk to people, the more you communicate in the entire walk of your life, it's of course to be understood that our listening skills are improving every time, but only if you give it a scope of improvement, or only if you practice, or only if you make that conscious effort to let it practice well. Whether we utilize this capacity and actually listen more effectively depends on our personality. So if my personality is open, I'm an open thought and an open mind person, only then the more I meet people, the more I'll be able to make effect on others by becoming an effective listener. The particular situation and avoiding any bad habits, we may then pick up on the way. But if I'm not a person with that kind of personality which is open to people, I might not pick up those skills very well. In fact, I would be worse, because now I am exposed to a lot of people and I do not have active listening. I am not practicing it anymore. So it could be worse, friends. It is easy to pick up bad habits for listening, in much the same time as it is to pick up the bad habits, other skills which we are unfrequently. It is easy to pick up bad habits for listening, as well as the way we pick up bad habits for other skills, which we definitely do frequently. When we drive, or when we learn to drive, for example, we are taught to see in the mirrors. We have 4 mirrors which show us entire 4 direction or 3 diagonal direction of a car. So we can see front, we can see back, and we can see side by 2 side mirrors. But when we learn, and also we learn to how to steer the wheel. But when we, after a certain point of time, when we are known that we are good drivers and we know how to drive very well, and it becomes a monotonous process, here we get our confidence improves so much that actually we do not focus on driving anymore, and we actually deal with the confidence. We start feeling that I'm confident about my driving, rather than understanding whether really am I continuing the same practice which I started at the day 1. Now, because my confidence level is high, I might not be into that practice of everyday process. Thus, it's easy to tend to pick up bad habits at certain times when there is less likelihood of concentration fully on their driving. The process becomes automatic. Same way with listening. When we are tuned to so many people and thinking that we are real good communicators, it's better, we've become older. I've heard of so many people so many times. I'm like 50, and I'm listening to so many people for 50 big years. Do I really need to practice listening? So it becomes an automatic process. It becomes a confidence level that increases, also helps, or maybe also, ruins getting into active listening, because at the end of the day, we keep convincing ourselves that we know what is active listening and we do not need practice. So friends, this was a major misconception about listening, which is where people start feeling that the more you get older, you become a better listener. Let's see what's the next misconception. So the next misconception is gender affects listening ability. Really? Now, what has gender, like a female and a male, to do with listening abilities? Let's see. Generally, and without trying to stereotype, men and women value communication differently. Maybe, yes, I agree on that point at some point of time. Women tend to place a higher value on connection, cooperation, and emotional messages, whereas men are generally more connected to facts. And maybe uncomfortable talking about emotional, personal subjects. So that's why we say female are better in listening. Is it so? Because females in everyday life are dealing with a lot of communication, cooperation, with a lot of emotional messages, whereas males are meant for facts. So they only listen to facts and they do not get involved into too much of emotional communication. That's the right, maybe I can put it up that way. But how does it affect listening? This doesn't mean that women are better listeners at all than men, or vice versa. But there may be differences in the way of messages that they are interpreted. So every message can be interpreted in a different way. Not necessary that a male or a female is better or less communicative or less or better, in level of understanding where its listening is concerned. But yes, the messages can be differently interpreted. During a conversation, men and women are likely to ask different questions to the speakers for the clarity of the message. There are final interpretations. The final interpretation of the conversation may therefore be different. So a male would ask a different kind of question and a female would ask a different kind of questions according to their understanding, which can definitely come to a conclusion that their conversations may differ according to their understanding level and interpretation. But that definitely doesn't mean that a male is a better listener or a female is a better listener or whatever, or vice versa. So friends, this is again a biggest myth that gender affects the ability of listening. Let's see what's the next misconception. The next misconception is speaking is more important than listening. So many people think that speaking is more important. Listening is not that important. Perhaps that is the reason why they tend to speak more and listen less. Because of which their listening skills they do not get the scope of practicing their listening skills, because majorly they're only talking. But the truth is both are equally important in effective communication. You cannot listen without speaking and you cannot speak without listening. Both weigh the equal weight when it comes to communication skills. So that's why I say, friends, that it's not necessary to speak more and listen less. In fact, both should be equally done. Another interesting misconception is that people think that speaking consumes a lot of energy, whereas listening doesn't at all consume any energy. This is wrong, because active listeners spend as much time as the speaker. If a subject is complex, imagine the active listeners pay more attention, go deeper into understanding, spend a lot of time on coming to a conclusion where the understanding is now turned into an evaluation process, and they're also now neutralizing it with the feelings. So imagine the amount of energy you require also to listen is not only you require to speak. So this is again a major myth or a misconception. Another very funny misconception is that many of us think that listening is an unconscious process. So how can it be unconscious when you are conscious? Let's see how it goes. The fact that is listening is an active mental process. The mind is consciously involved in the process. It cannot be an unconscious process. My mind is continuously thinking. It's in a mental process of evaluating, understanding, neutralizing, and doing all of that. So, such a continuous mental process, how can that be an unconscious process? In fact, it's the most conscious process ever. Even before you speak anything, you are now listening, and that's the major conscious process. Many people also think that good speakers can make their audience listen to them 100%. Is it so? This is, I would not judge whether it's correct or incorrect, but let's take an example. Now, suppose if I am a speaker and I'm speaking in front of 200 people, and out of which 150 are amazing listeners. Maybe I'm an amazing communicator, so they are able to listen to me correctly. But the other 50 who are involved in their unconsciously in their own things, like, oh, I have to get my daughter from school home today. Oh my God, I have to reach early in the home. I have a party at home. Oh my God, I have to complete the reports, give it to the boss tomorrow. So imagine they're unconsciously thinking of a lot of things in their mind, and they are not able to listen to me very well, no matter how good am I at communication. So then, is the response 100%? Of course not. This is an incorrect notion, because no speaker, however good he or she may be, cannot make his or her audience really listen. That is, if the audience do not want to listen to the speaker. It's as simple as that. There is no way that the speaker can force the audience to listen to that speaker. The speaker may use some gimmicks, some jokes, or would crack some activity, or would, for the involvement of the people, for an equal interaction. But that would happen again for that particular point of time, and again that person might get tuned out. Again, the people might get tuned out. The audience should be motivated to listen to him or her. That's more important. Like we said, our personality depends on our listening skills. So if my personality is where I motivate myself, or where I have a personality which I am very open to listening, or I have a personality which encourages listening, only then I would listen to someone given point of time, anything at all. The audience should be able to see a purpose. Why are we listening to that speaker, and should not get distracted. In short, they should not have any barriers to listening. So friends, this again is a misconception of a good speaker can make the audience listen to them 100%. To become an effective communicator, one should pay equal importance to all the 4 basic skills. Number 1 is reading, listening, writing, and speaking. All the skills are integrated. Let's see how. The more one reads, the more one knows, the more one knows, the more one writes. The more one writes, the more one reflects. And the more one reflects, the more one listens. The more one listens, the more one learns. The more one learns, the more one speaks. The more one speaks, the more one communicates. So it's all an integrated process. So this entire vicious circle of process of communication lies like this, and that's why these all misconceptions of listening are there with some person or the other, with some misconceptions of the other. So now friends, you came to know all the different kind of misconceptions of listening, and now we will definitely make a conscious effort to get this all misconceptions out of our heads and brains, and then focus on listening skills and practice them every day. I hope we would do that. So thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned to our channel, and please subscribe to Ekeeda.